The stock is retained by 10 through bolts with nuts the other side, and it's called a clamshell type because it's just in 2 pieces. Also, they retain the original Ruger stock screw. As you know, if you know your Rugers, there's one stock screw that holds the barrel action into the standard butt type stock, and they keep it now up to there, as we shall see. So what you do, just take out all the nuts and bolts. With the stock bolts removed, there's 10 of them, as I said before. 2 here that have short threads are the ones that replace the cross pins in the trigger mech housing, so just be aware of that. The others have half-length threads. Right, before you go any further, get an Allen key, fits the Allen screw in there, you undo it a few turns, as we shall see now. That's the shell coming off. That is the original stock bolt from the Ruger, and what happens is you wind it back in and it presses up against this, so it holds the barreled action as firm as it can. So with that out, you just lift off the barreled action, and here we can see the trigger linkage, as I said before. This is quite basic. There's a little spring there. You can see all it does when this is back in, it just pushes the trigger. It's as simple as that. There are some caveats on reassemblies I found out. Because the barrel on the 1032 is quite light, you need to make sure that the barreled action is as secure as you can in the stock. So what you do here is just make sure that screws slack off, make sure that your trigger linkage is set properly, then position it back in, making sure this washer goes underneath that cutout there, like so. See, everything's aligned properly, and then you lower this back on, make sure it's a good fit, and then you put the whole thing back together again. But if you clamp down these 2 screws which hold the trigger mech housing to the action, you can bind the bolt or make it go slow, which can cause problems. So once you're all down, you just need to check the tension on these. It's not too tight, and obviously not too loose. The other thing is that all the nuts are not captive, so you've got to put each one in turn. What I do, I put them all in so they're engaged, then I go around, get them down to a tightness, and once that's done, then I tighten up these last 2. One thing I did notice when tightening it down is that the actual bolts are a little on the long side, so when they're cinched down tightly, you get a little bit of thread coming out the other side. I think it's just the fact that Desert Tech have perhaps not measured up properly. So really, if it was my rifle, I'd get my file out and just kiss off literally 1 thread. That's all it really is, but you can feel it catching on the fingers and it feels a bit unpleasant. So that's it all tightened down front to back, and I said I've actually haven't done these to quite the same tension. As you can see, the bolt runs nice and smoothly, but if you wind them right in, it gets harder to do. So just bear that in mind. So once it's together, just have a fiddle with it, and again, up through there, give it a good tighten down, because really, the rifle's got, so the action's got to be as firm as possible inside this shell. But that is pretty much that. The kit comes with full instructions. You can buy these as a set for your 1022 if you've got one, or Viking Arms are doing it as a complete rifle for around about $8.50, so it comes from the box ready to rock and roll.